Hey, sixth grade, welcome to my dining room table. I wanted to hop on and create a video to talk about a fun little easy end of the year project that I want you to work on this week for English. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing poetry like we did back in November when we created the Christmas themed poetry for the nursing home. But instead of doing Christmas, I want us to do quarantine style because I think there's a lot of different things that while, they're kind of serious because it helps us keep us safe, it's kind of, we're living in a weird time. So I thought this would be cool to do some poetry based off of our time in quarantine. So I'm going to read off, I have my computer right here. I'm going to read off some specifications that I want for this poetry project, but it's going to be pretty easy, and I'm going to give you an example of one of my poems. Okay, so first what you're going to be doing is you're going to be typing both a limerick and a free verse poem. So we did that already, and I'm going to go through. If you don't remember how to write a limerick or a free verse poem, I'm going to go through that as well. But you're going to type it up on a Google Doc and put both poems on a Google Doc, okay? Make sure also to put your name in the title, or not the actual title, but like the name of the document so that I know whose this is. Make sure both poems follow a quarantine theme, okay? Be creative with these poems, all right? There's a lot you can do. You can do something based off of masks or the lack of toilet paper or staying 6 feet apart or hand sanitizer. I don't know. There's so many different things that you can think of. I was walking with my husband and we came up with one, and I'll read you what one that we came up with. And we had so much fun actually creating them because there's so many different things that you can go off of. When it comes to when you type it up, it can be any style font as long as I can read it. So I don't need it to be Times New Roman or Arial. Like, be funny and creative with the font, just make sure that I can read it. But when it comes to the size of the font, please don't go over size 36 font. And I'd prefer the color to be black. I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's on the computer. I'm not going to be printing it out, but it's just easier for me to read if the font color is black. Also, make sure that both poems have a title, okay? And that they follow the limerick and free verse rules. So I'm going to go over the rules of the poems. For free verse, there really is no rules, which is great. It could be as long or as short as you want. It can rhyme. It doesn't have to rhyme. It just kind of goes on. So be creative with it, especially because it can kind of just be more like a narrative. There are rules for limericks. So each limerick is 5 lines long. If you remember, I used to, when I taught you this, I put up on the board, the first, second, and fifth line should have 5 to 7 syllables, and they should each rhyme with each other. So remember, if you have someone named Dan, you have to have 2 other words that rhyme with Dan. And then lines 3 and 4, they also have to rhyme with each other. Another rule for limericks is that they should be funny. And they often start with, like, there once was a person or animal or something like that. And then throughout the poem, you continue talking about that person. So I wrote them on my phone. My limerick that I came up with my husband. So here we go. There once was a girl named Maureen who lived through a quarantine. She had no hand sani, but that was just dandy because she washed up with Listerine. So obviously silly, of course, but it all rhymes. Maureen, quarantine, Listerine, and sani and dandy, those rhyme as well. And if you're not really sure if words rhyme, ask somebody, okay? The title of mine is just called A Girl Named Maureen. I also thought about another one that I could create for a free verse called 6 Feet Apart. And it went something, I didn't write it down, but it went something like, I love seeing you, but 6 feet apart. Your hair looks really great, but 6 feet apart. I love talking to you, but 6 feet apart. Hey, your mask is cute. We're 6 feet apart. Okay, something like that, where you can kind of be repetitive or silly. And the free verse can be serious, it could be silly. It really doesn't have many rules at all. So you can kind of go on and really talk about anything, but have it be based on your time in quarantine. Now, it could be like you really enjoy spending time with your family, and you could talk about that in your free verse, because I really do love spending time with my family. My husband and I were talking about how nice it is that we actually get to like have breakfast together, and we get to see each other more often. So that could be something that you can write about in your free verse. But remember, limerick is funny and it has a bunch of rules, and I have a document that I'm going to share with you that goes over all of the specifications for limerick and the project itself. Now I'm going to give you a few days to do this. Also, another thing to note is that if you want extra credit on this assignment, which I know some of you, extra credit would be really helpful to kind of boost your grade for this quarter. The extra credit would be to record yourself reading this poem, or these poems, both of them. But you have to be creative with it. Okay, that could be pretty much, that opens the door for pretty much anything. Obviously within reason, make sure it's appropriate, but if you record yourself and you send it to me, I will give you 5 extra points on this assignment, okay? So have fun creating these poems. It's a fun, easy assignment. This is going to be a final grade, it's not your final, but it is one of your final grades, like your last grades for this quarter for English. So this could be a great grade booster. So make sure you just take the time, make sure your words rhyme, make sure you're really putting in some effort towards these poems, and have fun with it, all right? So happy poetry writing.